October 1st. We are going to be doing a reading vlog this week. I am so excited to jump into my October TBR. I've got so many books that I'm so over the moon excited to read. So to start us off, we've got a little bit of a spiced cider. Look at how cute this mug is. Oh my gosh, I love him so much. I got this from Target last year, and it's a pumpkin holding a ghost. I also have a ghost holding a pumpkin, and it's just so fun. They're best friends. We love it. So I am so excited to just start reading this month. I've got so many good books. If you guys are curious what my October TBR is, go ahead and check out my last video that I just posted, because I talk about the 9 books that I want to read this month. My plan, honestly, is just to kind of see how many books I can get to in this week. The books that I have selected for my October TBR are a bit on the chunkier side, but there are 2 that I would love to get to and potentially finish this week. Everything else is going to kind of just be like, hopefully I get to it. The first book that I am the most excited to get to, if I don't get to any other book this month, this is the only one I want to read, is Immortal Consequences by Ivy and Marie. I'm really excited to jump into this, and I will be reading it the second that I finish filming this intro clip. So this is the first one that I want to get to. The second book that I would like to get to in this reading vlog is Cruel is the Light by Sophie Clark. This is a random little fun fact for you guys, is the last book from my physical TBR. Long story short, my goal this year was to read through my whole physical TBR, which was about 50 or so books. I have bought some books since then, but with everything that I had on that initial list at the beginning of the year, this is the last book on that list from when I started this challenge. So once I get this done, I will have read 50 books for my physical TBR, and then everything else are books that I basically have gotten within the past 2 or 3 months. So then I'm going to read all of those, and hopefully I'll get through all of those books before the end of the year too, but that's besides the point. This is the next book that I'm hoping to get through this week. And then if by some miracle, I have time after I read both of these 500-page long books, we'll just jump into Calabasas by R.M. Kuang. Like I said, I don't intend to finish this book this week. I honestly don't even intend to start this book this week. I think the other 2 are probably going to take me a while to get through, but if I do have time, this is going to be the next one that I pick up. Those are the 3 books that I'm hoping to get to in this video. We'll see what actually happens, but before we actually jump into those, I actually need to talk about a 4th book, and that is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. If you guys watched my last video, I talked about 9 books that I wanted to read this month, this being one of them. But I explained in that video that I was waiting for an audio hold to come on Libby because I was having a hard time reading the book physically. So I was going to listen to the audiobook until I got interested, and then I was going to switch back to reading the physical book. Well, my audio hold came in an hour after I filmed that video. So this weekend I did a puzzle and I put in the audiobook, and I got really far into this book. I think I had about 100 pages left by the time I stopped listening to the audiobook. So I stopped listening to audio and I read the last 100 or so pages, and I finished this yesterday. So this is officially the first book that we can check off of our October TBR. I will say, I think I'm going to give this about a 3.5 star. I will continue reading the other 2 books in this trilogy, but I think with those ones, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with this one, where I'm going to probably audiobook most of it, and then I'll physically read some stuff here and there. Just because I don't know why, I was just having a hard time reading it, and I was just in my head about it, so I didn't want to pick it up either, even when I did have the opportunities to read this book. So I'm hoping that continuing to listen to the audiobook will help me with the other 2 books, because when I listened to the audio, it was really good, and I really liked the narrator. In this book, basically, it's Norse inspired, and you're following 3 different characters. I'm gonna say as cryptically as possible, but also you find out a lot of this stuff really quickly, so it's not much of a spoiler. You're following Orca, who is a mother who is trying to find her lost son. You're following Varg, who is an escaped thrall, aka a servant, who is trying to seek vengeance for his dead sister. And then you're following Elvar, who is a warrior for this group of people called the Battleground. And I enjoyed all three characters. My thoughts, which I'm not going to talk about which character specifically I felt this way, but one plot line was really interesting the whole line through. Another plot line started off kind of boring, but I got interested in by the end of the book. And then the third plot line I started off interested in, and then it got a little boring. It did pick up right at the very end, but it was a little bit iffy as it went through. So where it ended off, though, is really exciting, and I can't wait to read the next two books in this series. I don't think I'll get to them this year, but they are high on my list to read next year. That being said, let's go ahead and put Shadow of the Gods to the side, and we are going to jump into Immortal Consequences. With a reading update for Immortal Consequences. I don't know why I keep showing you guys the spine. I just really want you to know I have a cool, pretty spine, okay? I have made a very sizable dent into Immortal Consequences. It is the next day, so I don't remember if I said that. Oh well, anyway, I'm on page 190 out of 423. Nope, wait, 438. I'd like to get to 250 before the end of the day. And then read like 100 or so pages for the next 2 days to get this done pretty gosh darn quickly, because we got other books we need to move on to in this reading vlog. I didn't explain to you guys what Immortal Consequences was about in my last clip. Immortal Consequences follows a group of students who go to this school called Blackwood Academy, where basically they are learning magic and they are learning how to ferry souls across the ether to their eternal end. There is this event called the Decennial, where basically one student is picked, they're nominated to do these 4 trials, and then on completion, they get the chance to either become the Ascended, or they get the chance to move on into the afterlife. Every character, we're following 6 different characters, they all want to be nominated for this Decennial. But of course, as it goes, there's a little bit of a twist this year for this year's Decennial, so who knows what'll happen? You'll just have to read the book and see. That is like the overall, like the overarching plot. In this book, you were following 6 main characters. It's pretty much 3 groups of 2 who all interact, but they're kind of like standoffish towards each other. So you've got Ren and August, who, from what I have noticed, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it seems like Ren and August are like the main characters of the book. That specifically Ren, it seems like they are the ones that Ivy Marie, the author, tends to focus on the most. Then there is Emilio and Olivier. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's French. And then the last group you have is Irene and Masika. And so, like I mentioned, they all are kind of stick to their clump of 2, but circumstances arise where they are forced together. So from where I'm at right now, I will say I'm not like obsessed with the story. I am enjoying it. This is not at a risk of being a DNF. I do know I want to keep reading. I do know I am intrigued by what's going on, but there's nothing that I'm like about quite yet. I'm still waiting for that moment of like obsession or real big interest. And I'm almost halfway through and I don't quite know if that's gonna happen, but I do think I am going to enjoy it overall. My guess is it's probably gonna end up being a high 3-star, but there's still a whole second half of the book to go that could change my opinion. And that is it for my reading update. But on an unrelated note, I actually did not get as much reading done in this book yesterday as I could have, because I spent a good portion of my day writing my book. And if there's any good excuse as to why I'm not reading, it's because I'm writing. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I am a toxic writer. All right, I have 3 very, very bad habits. First and foremost, I have no discipline when it comes to writing. I write when inspiration strikes, and that's it. And if I lose the motivation, I will not pick a book up. I will not pick my book up. I will not write my book for upwards of a few days to a few weeks to a few months, maybe like a year. It's fine. I am really bad about the fact that I'm not consistent with my writing, and I need to, but I just haven't done a good job about it. But yesterday, inspiration struck, so I was excited to write, and I did write. Another one of my toxic traits is that, for some reason, rewriting an entire draft is easier to me than just editing a draft. I don't know why. I have written multiple books, okay? Have I published one? No, but we're not going to talk about it. I have written 3 different books and multiple drafts for each of those books. But with every single one of them, I get about 2, maybe 3 chapters into editing, and I'm just like, screw it, you know what? I don't want to read this anymore. I'm just going to rewrite the whole thing. And I always tell myself, oh, I'm going to go read back what I wrote in the last draft, and I'll copy and paste things into this one. I don't do that either, okay? It's really bad, and it's toxic, and it's because I come up with 8 million ideas in between drafts that I want to add, and so in my mind, I'm like, why edit and add stuff in? I would rather just rewrite the whole thing and make sure it all flows cohesively than trying to force my ideas into what I had already written where it didn't exist. I don't know if that's normal or not. I'm assuming it's not. This was a trait that I had back in high school that I actually got rid of and then came back with this book specifically as I've been writing. And it is the fact that I don't follow through with the draft. It's that I'll start one and then I'll get however many chapters into it, and then I'll come up with an idea and I'm like, oh, I want to write that. So then I go back and then I write that and then I edit and then and next thing you know, I've scrapped that draft and started completely over. This is draft 5 of this book that I'm working on, but the thing is I've actually only written 1 full draft. It's because I keep just starting over. So that's where we're at. But this time, okay, I'm gonna finish this draft no matter what. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. I need to finish this draft. But I feel really good about this one. Hi. Yeah, hi, Kitty. Anyway, I did some really good work last night. I wrote the first chapter. I got about 2,500 words into it, which does not sound like a lot, but in the first draft that I wrote, I was lucky to even write 1,000 words per chapter because I was just kind of like spewing words onto a page, just trying to get the story down so I had bare bones. So this is the first like real draft I am working on. He's gonna start babbling now. Sorry about that. I actually feel really good about the chapter that I wrote last night, and I am excited to do more of that today. So my goal is to get to page 250 in Moral Consequences. And then I would also like to write another chapter of my book before the end of the day, if possible. If I don't read, the problem that I have is that the second I start writing, I'm not gonna wanna stop. So I need to get whatever reading done that I wanna do today done now, because the second I start reading or start writing, any spare time I have, which obviously, you know, is determined on when he's napping. But any spare time I have is going to be, I want to write. So I'm trying to get as far into this as I can. As long as I can get to page 200, I'll be happy today. That's my little update for you guys. We're making good progress into Immortal Consequences. We've got a good start to my book that I've been working on, and it's all around a good day. So I'm gonna go, and then I will come back with an update for you guys probably when I finish this book. So yeah, he's awake for this one. So enjoy his little cooing in the background. Do you remember in my last clip I said that I was gonna read like 100 to 150 pages over the next like 2 days to finish out this book? I finished it. And I think my earlier statement of 3.5 stars is accurate. He starts to babble every time I start talking. It's like he knows. It's like he knows. World building wise, total 5 out of 5. Was very excited about the concept. I will say, I thought it was going to highlight the school aspect of things a little bit more than it did. It did not. Honestly, this book just gave me Goblet of Fire vibes, but still was really good and very unique in its own way. Character building wise, I think was kind of this book's downfall. I mentioned I love a good book that has a large cast of characters, but I feel like having so many characters in a book is so tricky to do. And the only two series that I've really seen that done well is Heroes of Olympus and then Throne of Glass. I feel like when you have a large cast of characters, it is hard to really give each character the attention that they deserve. And I feel like she had the same issue with this book. It was very obvious to me that Ren was supposed to be the main character in the book, and you do actually figure out why at the end, why she's more important than the other ones. But there was another character, her name is Masika, and she is like barely even shows up pretty much, which is a bummer because I actually really liked that character. She showed up in everybody else's POVs, but she barely got her own. And then all of the other characters just didn't really stand out to me. They were okay, but they just kind of weren't great. And there were two characters in particular that I had some issues with. This one specific character was just difficult, and I can't stand a character who does not like to accept help from anyone or is really standoffish or is frankly kind of selfish. And this character in particular was like all of the things that I don't like in a character. There's actually a quote that describes this character perfectly, and I'm going to read it to you for a second. And basically it says, "What difference?" Like, what difference? Question mark. Let me rephrase that. What difference? Don't you get it? You're selfish and cruel and manipulative. You've broken my heart more times than I can count, and you smiled while you've done it. And yet, despite all of that, despite the cruelty you wear and the pain you inflict on others, you are my friend. Yeah, that's exactly what kind of character I don't like in a book. The other character that I had issues with was August. And honestly, I have the same issue with August that I do with Kai in the Powerless series. And is that the vocabulary of that character is limited to one word and one word only, and that word is her. Like, really? Can these characters please have any other personality trait other than the fact that they are obsessed with their girlfriend, significant other, whoever is the female in their life? I feel like every time this chapter showed up, it was just, I'm so aware of her presence and she's always on my mind and she constantly is in my thoughts and my dreams and whatever. It's literally just like her. I'm like, okay, dude, I get it. You're obsessed. Let's move on. So outside of that, he was a good character, and outside of that, the other characters were great characters as well. But I personally felt like the character development in this book could have used a little bit more. I do know that this is the first book in a series. I don't know if it's just a duology or an actual series, but obviously, you know, characters aren't going to go from A to Z in one book if there's more books following. So I understand that there's still some work to be done, which is why I'm not trying to critique too harshly. I know it might sound like I am. I'm not trying to. I do actually think she did a really good job with this book in general. And even though I only gave this a 3.5 star, I am very excited to read the rest of the series. And I think it has a lot of potential to be a great series. So that is my thoughts on Immortal Consequences. Now it is time to talk about the next book that we're going to read, because today I discovered a little bit of a predicament. And that was earlier. I was scrolling through the Fairy Loot website, and as I was scrolling, I was trying to do some research because there was a book that I received through Fairy Loot last year, The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle, that the second book is being released this month. So I was on the website trying to figure out the date for that book. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. While I was looking it up, I discovered that the sequel to another book that I had received in a Fairy Loot box is actually available next week. And that just so happens to be like the one Fairy Loot book outside of Cruel is the Light. This one just so happens to be the one book that I have not read, and that is The Floating World by Axio. The edition for the sequel to this book is gorgeous, which, I mean, it's Fairy Loot, what do you expect? But this is an image of it because it's so pretty. And so part of me wants to just buy it because it's gorgeous and I want it on my shelf. But I'm really trying hard to not be that person who buys a whole series without reading like one of the books first to know if I even like the series. So I don't want to buy this one, also because it's expensive because it's coming from the UK. I don't want to buy it without having read the first book first. But I don't want to wait to read this one Because what if I do end up really liking it, and then by the time that I have the opportunity to buy the second book, it's no longer available, and then it's even more expensive because I have to buy it secondhand. So I think we're gonna do a pivot, and rather than jumping into Cruel is the Light like my initial plan was, I think I'm going to start with The Floating World. This book is like less than 350 pages, so it should be super easy for me to get through in the next like day or two. And then I'm gonna jump into Cruel is the Light. So I think that's the plan. Tomorrow, I'm gonna start The Floating World. And then after I finish The Floating World, we're gonna jump into Cruel is the Light. And the reason I'm saying tomorrow is because it is already like 4 o'clock here, and I have some other things I need to work on, like writing my book. For instance, I've actually been doing so good with writing my book the past few days. I am on chapter 3. I've already written like 4,000 words between the first 2 chapters, which is pretty good if I do say so myself. I don't typically write long chapters, so those are not long chapters by any means, but they're longer than my typical, chapter length. So it's impressive for me. But other than that, I will see you after I get a chunk of the way into this book. So see you guys then. I have good news and I have bad news. Good news is I am loving The Floating World, and I will absolutely be buying the sequel when it comes out in just a couple of days, which is, the whole reason why I decided to forego Cruel is the Light so I can pick this up. Bad news is I will not be getting to Cruel is the Light in this video like I expected to. Here's the thing. It was the weekend, and I was being overly ambitious by thinking that I would be able to read all of this book and get a good chunk of the way into Cruel is the Light during the weekend when it's, the only time my husband has off. So I did not get nearly as much reading done this weekend as I wanted to, but that's okay. I did also get some writing done this weekend, so I feel like it's a good trade-off. I did manage to get 205 pages into The Floating World out of 357. Plan obviously is read as much of this today as I can. I should be able to get it done by tonight. Initially I was gonna try to cram this in, and then I was hoping to finish this within a day or two, so then that way I could pick up Cruel is the Light, and then I was just gonna push back the upload date of this vlog until I finish Cruel is the Light as well. Because here's the thing, as of right now, no one expects a schedule from me, so I can do whatever I want. This is the second time of me trying to film this, because first time I tried to film it, someone who shall not be named decided he did not want me to film today. So we're trying again now that he's eating some noodles, and we're gonna see how much we can get into this. But here's the thing, between when I started trying to film this clip and now, I've actually already made even more progress into The Floating World, and my opinion has changed ever so slightly about it. I will say that this is a fairly quick read. When I do have time to pick it up, it's just, I have not been the best about actually sitting down and picking it up, which is why it's taken me so long to get through it. So let me explain a little bit about what The Floating World is. Pretty much, you are following 2 characters. You're following Ren, who is a acrobat performer, a part of this troupe, and then you're following Sunho, who is a sword for hire. And pretty much, which this is not a spoiler because it literally happens within the first 2 chapters of the book, Ren has some sort of ability that if it got out she had said ability, she would be hunted. And oh, whoop-de-doo, guess what happens? So Sunho is hired to go and try to find Ren, and he finds her, but he doesn't know that it's her. I have a few small things with this book that I have an issue with, and like I said, I am enjoying it, so I do want to continue on with it. But it's interesting because if I'm being entirely honest with you, this book does not entirely feel like it has a plot, at least not until where I just got on page 275, which is weird. It definitely, okay, maybe I'd say more so around like 250. Still though, like 250 pages in, and there's not much super going on. It's very interesting. There is obviously some things that are hinted at here and there. You're finding some stuff out. It feels to me like this book is all just entirely set up for the sequel. Now, you do actually get a third character's POV very, very occasionally. And during his POV, I feel like that is the setup for what the actual plot is for this book. And now what he is working towards is finally getting met up with Ren and Sunho in the book. So that is a little interesting. So that is basically my update. We are going to go ahead and finish this book today, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts, and we will wrap up this vlog. So I will see you guys in a bit. Can you say goodbye? Say bye-bye. No, now he doesn't want to talk anymore. Okay, so I have officially finished The Floating World. This book, unfortunately, kind of tanked for me at the very end. Still not bad. I expected this to be a 4-star based off of how I was feeling at the beginning of the book. It is going to end up being probably a 3.5. After I finished, I actually read some reviews on this book to see some other people's opinions, and it seems like a lot of people felt the exact same way that I did about the fact that Ren as a main character felt really young and naive, that her motivation, like her quest that she went on at the very beginning of this book, felt like it had no importance, that she was not actually trying to accomplish that goal. Everything felt very surface level. This was an interesting thing that I didn't notice until almost the very end of the book. Like in certain points in the story, you would be reading and it would feel like you just missed something. Like I think there was one point in time, like I was reading and I turned the page and I had to go back and like make sure I wasn't skipping a page, because where I had ended on one page and where I started in the next one did not make sense. It did not feel like it connected. Like it felt like I was missing a paragraph or two. And that I'm not the only person who's noticed that. There was random, apparently, bits of dialogue that felt like they were cut. There was descriptions that felt like it was cut. But something about their love story was also weird. It felt too perfect. Nothing happened. Like there was no tension. When her past got revealed to him, he was fine with it. When his past got revealed to her, she was fine with it. Like I said, I did enjoy it, and I will still be getting the second one. I am not as excited about it anymore as I was when I first picked up this book, which is a bummer, because it was really fun and it was cutesy and whatever, but that's kind of all it felt. It felt very low stakes, even when there was a lot of stuff going on, and it just felt like a cute fairy tale. So I don't know. It drops to a 3.5, unfortunately, but I do still think it is cute, and I do still want to read the second book, so that would be super nice. With that being said, we have officially finished 2 books for this reading vlog. We finished Immortal Consequences, and we finished The Floating World. Both of these I ended up giving a 3.5 star. I am glad that I read them. I am glad to knock them off of my physical TBR. We are whittling it down, guys. Not only, only one book knocked off my October TBR, but for my physical TBR in total, left for the entire year, we've got 8 books. Only 8 books left on my physical TBR that I need to read before December, which is, well, I guess January, which is really exciting. So that is that. Thank you guys so much for watching this little reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It did deviate from its course, but I still think it was a fun time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, feel free to comment. If you've read either of these books, let me know your thoughts, and or give me recommendations of things that you think I should read. I don't know. Let's just chat. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy that you guys are here too. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.